On a cold February day in 2004, a 21-year-old nursing student named Maura Murray left her university in Massachusetts and disappeared into the remote, icy roads of New Hampshire. The moment she stepped out of her dorm room, a mystery began, one that has remained unsolved for 20 years. This is the last journey of Maura Murray, a young woman whose calm exterior hid a storm that no one fully understood. What she did, where she drove, who she may have met, and what ultimately happened to her, remains one of America's most haunting cold cases. The story begins on February 5, 2004, when Maura was working her campus security shift at the UMass Amherst dormitory. Out of nowhere, she received a phone call that left her visibly shaken. Her supervisor later described her as sitting at her desk, frozen, unable to speak, simply repeating the words, "My God, my God." Whatever she heard on that call has never been publicly revealed. That very moment is believed to be the first domino in a chain of events that would change everything. In the next 3 days, Maura behaved strangely, quiet, withdrawn, emotional, and restless. She searched online for directions to Burlington, Vermont, and different rental condos in the White Mountains. She even looked up alcohol effects on pregnancy, though she was not known to be pregnant. Some detectives believe this may not have been a destination search, but an escape plan. On February 9, Maura sent her professors an email claiming there had been a death in her family, and she would be gone for a week. But there was no death. It was a lie, one no one could explain. She then drove to an ATM and withdrew almost all her money, $280. Surveillance cameras captured her standing straight, calm, with no sign of panic. After that, she visited a liquor store and bought a box of wine, a bottle of Kahlua, and a pack of beer. For someone leaving town, the items didn't make sense. They seemed like choices of someone planning to drink alone. Around 3:15 p.m., Maura left UMass Amherst in her black 1996 Saturn. She didn't tell her friends, didn't tell her boyfriend, didn't tell her family. She just drove north. Her phone records later revealed she made one strange stop. She called a number belonging to a condo association in Bartlett, New Hampshire. She didn't book anything. Some believe she was checking prices. Others believe she was calling a place she already knew. As the sun went down, Maura's phone pinged a cell tower near the White Mountains. By 7 p.m., she was driving on Route 112 near Haverhill, New Hampshire, a dark and isolated area surrounded by forests and steep snowbanks. What she was doing there, alone, is one of the biggest mysteries in this case. At 7:27 p.m., a local woman heard a loud thump outside. When she looked through her window, she saw a car stuck in a snowbank, a black Saturn with its airbags deployed. It was Maura's car. When the neighbor approached the scene, Maura was standing next to the driver's side door. She wasn't bleeding. She wasn't limping. She didn't look injured. But she looked shaken. The neighbor offered help. Maura shook her head and said, "No, I've already called AAA." But records confirm she never made such a call. Investigators believe she lied, to avoid police involvement. She may have feared a DUI, because the smell of alcohol was strong inside the car. Minutes later, a school bus driver returning home stopped beside her. He noticed she was cold, nervous, but polite. He offered to call the police. Again, she refused, insisting, "Please, don't call anyone." But the bus driver, worried, drove home and called the police anyway. When officers arrived at 7:46 p.m., Maura was gone. Not running, not screaming, not leaving footprints easily visible in the snow. Just gone. The car was locked. A nearly full bottle of wine was inside, but a box of wine had spilled onto the car's interior. On the back seat were her packed belongings, cosmetics, clothes, college books. But one thing was missing, her phone and her debit card. They were never used again. What happened in those 10 to 12 minutes between the bus driver leaving and the police arriving? That short, dark window of time has become the heart of this mystery. Some investigators believe Maura walked into the woods, attempting to hide until the police left. But the temperatures that night were deadly cold. Even walking a short distance would have left footprints. None were found. Another theory suggests something far darker, that someone picked her up. The area where she crashed wasn't empty. It was surrounded by homes, small cabins, and passing traffic. What if a stranger offered help, and Maura accepted? She was cold, scared, possibly intoxicated, and alone. If someone stopped at the right moment, she would have had only seconds to decide. There is also another angle, one that brings unsettling questions. Many believe Maura wasn't heading north randomly. They believe she knew someone in the area. Someone she trusted. Someone she intended to meet. If that person picked her up, willingly or unwillingly, the truth could be far more complicated than a simple abduction. Search teams flooded the area within hours. Dogs tracked her scent from the crashed car, 100 feet down the road, and then it abruptly vanished. This indicated one thing: she entered a vehicle. Her scent didn't fade, it ended instantly, the kind of disappearance that only happens when someone gets off the ground and into another place. Over the next several days, helicopters, thermal imaging, ground searches, and hundreds of volunteers scanned the woods, rivers, and abandoned buildings. But there was no sign of Maura. No clothing, no footprints, no body, nothing. Her family arrived and began their own search. Her father, Fred Murray, refused to accept the police's idea that she walked into the woods to die. He insisted that his daughter met with foul play. Even today, he believes Maura was abducted, possibly by someone local. In the years that followed, dozens of theories emerged. Some claim Maura wanted a new life and ran away. But she left behind her passport, her money, and her phone records show no signs of secret planning. Others believe she staged the accident. But her car was undrivable, the radiator was crushed. She couldn't go anywhere even if she wanted to. A disturbing theory involves a man living a few miles from the crash site, a person with a violent past. His home was searched, and cadaver dogs alerted to possible human remains. But nothing was ever officially found. Suspicion remains, but no proof has surfaced. Then there are the sightings. Over the years, dozens of people have claimed to see someone resembling Maura, from Canada to Vermont. Some reports described a quiet woman working in motels, others reported a hitchhiker matching her description. But none were verified. The case took a chilling turn when cold case detectives examined the phone records again. At 4:37 p.m. on the day she disappeared, Maura received a voicemail from her boyfriend, one she never listened to. After she went missing, her phone continued ringing normally for days before eventually going straight to voicemail. This suggests the phone stayed powered and possibly in someone's possession. The phone was never recovered. Today, investigators believe one of two things happened. Either Maura encountered a dangerous stranger, or she met someone she knew, someone she trusted, and that person holds the final piece of this mystery. On the anniversary of her disappearance every year, her family visits the location on Route 112. They leave flowers, candles, and notes. For them, the pain doesn't fade. It grows. Because without answers, every possibility remains open. Every theory is alive. 2 decades later, Maura's disappearance remains one of America's most haunting unsolved cases. What happened in those 11 minutes between the crash and the police arrival? Did Maura vanish willingly? Was she taken? Or did she walk into the cold night believing she could find help? Someone, somewhere, knows the truth. And until that truth comes out, the disappearance of Maura Murray will continue to haunt the world, whispering the same unanswered question. Where did she go?